All right, what does it mean when you lose 5 must-wins? How many must-wins has this team lost in the past week and a half, Harm? Like, I'm honestly trying to keep track of the number. I think we're up to 5 where we've used the term must-win, or the team has used the term must-win, and they've lost it.
Well, they've lost so many that there are no must-win games left.
Yeah, that's it, right? Like,
that's the nail in the coffin.
The team's still going to say it. Hold on as we pull up the playoff odds.
They shouldn't even bother saying it.
But they will. Like,
honestly, who are they fooling? Like, not just losing last night, but losing without any pride, any pushback, any fight. For all the talk about, oh, this is a game 7. What a disappointing and dismal effort. And especially disappointing because on this last road trip, we were praising them for, hey, they didn't always get the results, but undermanned roster, facing a lot of injuries and adversity. They've shown guts. They've shown resilient. It's been hard-fought games. The effort's been there. Guys have stepped up. They haven't quit or given up. Last night felt like a game where they were just going through the motions.
1.9% odds to make the playoffs as of this recording. But we're not.
Dude, I don't want to hear about the playoff odds ever again.
No, so that's what I was saying is that's the last time we're going to bring it up for the rest of the year because we're going to switch to the Tankathon draft odds.
Playoffs?
And we're going to see.
Don't talk about it. Playoffs? You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game.
We'll see where they can go in terms of the draft odds. We'll see where it goes. But I did want to say a couple things. And I think the main thing is that the reason this playoff idea is dead is not just statistics. It's also how they played last night. You just said it. Not the best effort. And to me, I'm not going to come on here and be like, guys, you got to pull together. You got to play way better than that. Like, I liked their effort, man. I liked their effort in the first period. They were undermanned. Thatcher Demko had an off night. But by the end of that, they just looked like a team that has been through a long season where a lot has gone wrong. And again, not completely out of the team's control, but they look like a tired group of players. And I think it starts with Quinn Hughes too. Like Quinn Hughes just looks completely out of gas. And I don't believe him when he says he's 100% healthy, but when Quinn Hughes isn't going, like the rest of your team's not going to be going either, especially when the rest of the team looks like it does right now. So I'm not going to sit here and come on the show and be like, oh, I'm so upset about their lack of effort and they should have tried way harder. It's like, these guys are tired, man.
I thought it was pretty dispirited, man. I'll be honest. I was disappointed with their effort.
Yeah, because they've had their
and you talked about liking their first period. That first period was played at a preseason intensity by both sides.
Yeah, well, the Kraken
was awful hockey.
Yeah, the Kraken suck, but that was the best.
There was no
the Canucks turned in.
Jam there, and I know I'm talking about intangibles, and I know the fancy stats. The Canucks didn't play that poorly, and I get it, right? They weren't territorially dominated,
sure, but you shouldn't be by the short-handed Seattle Kraken. That's not a victory.
Missing their top 2 forwards, and again, like they themselves internally were hyping this up as like we got to treat this as a game 7. They knew that if they lost last night, it was going to be the final nail in their coffin. And to me, a lot of it too is just the pride for your home ice fans. Like they've had way too many stinkers at home. And honestly, that was my first thought because I was in the building when the final seconds were ticking off the clock. Most of the fans had understandably left, but even the couple minutes previous when people were still there, you could just sense a restlessness, the disappointment, some scattered boos. And all I could think about was like it was Autism Acceptance Night, and credit the organization. They've absolutely killed it with their community initiative nights. I was just thinking about how many families like had circled a game like this on the calendar, been looking forward to this for so long, just counting down the days. And I get it, right? When you buy a sporting ticket, there's no guarantee your team's going to win, right? We all know that. But you at least want an effort. You want something to cheer for. And you just go through this team's home ice results this season. In October, 6-0 loss to the Devils, 7-3 to the Oilers, a 5-2 loss to the Islanders in November where their effort was way worse than their score, 5-3 to the lowly Nashville Predators, blown out 5-1 to the Boston Bruins, 3-0 again to the Predators, 5-1 to the Kings, now 5-0 to the Kraken. Shorthanded Kraken. I just really feel for the ticket paying customers. And like, I think for me, the frustration isn't so much about just last night's effort because, hey, occasionally that happens. And as you alluded to, Thatcher Demko is off and that makes the score look worse. than their actual sort of, how they were controlling play and whatnot. But to me, it's just the accumulation of all these stinker efforts on home ice that it doesn't sit right with me, especially when Rick Tocchet, how many weeks ago, took ownership for we've really let the fans down on home ice, and to have another effort like that, it just rubbed me the wrong way.
And that's fair. I'm not going to push back on that. The culmination of it is embarrassing. It's not good. But what I was saying is their playoff hopes, like there's no such thing as playoff hopes when you turn in an effort like that. And to me, that's just the players being out of gas, and it's been a long season for them. And this is just them kind of throwing in the white towel.
Sure, but that shouldn't be acceptable, because Quinn Hughes was asked about it, and I thought he gave a great answer, which was he was asked about the sort of potential mental fatigue about and play it. Like, I thought it was a great answer.
Harmon calling for a clip. Jacob, pull it up. We got it.
I'm not going to comment on guys being mentally tired or physically tired. I think that if you went around the league, everyone would say that they're mentally tired, if especially the guys that played at Four Nations. So I don't know how many guys on our team we have, Lankinen and Petey, and that's really it. So I don't think there should be any excuses for that. I mean, if you ask the St. Louis Blues if they're mentally tired from playing Game 7s every other night trying to win, they've won 10 in a row, so they're not using that as an excuse. They're just playing good hockey.
There you go, right? Every team at this time of year is tired, is drained physically and mentally, and especially if you're in the playoff race, you've had to prepare for must-win games for weeks now. And yeah, that's not easy, but Blues have rattled off 10 straight. And to me as well, it's so important that this team doesn't just check out, because you're trying to build a culture for next season. You're trying to fix the locker room, where the first half of the season, we knew that there were just a lot of nights where the team's battle level, the work rate, the staples, which had defined their identity and made them so successful last season, particularly from a defensive standpoint. There were just a lot of nights in the first half where that effort wasn't there, right? Where, you'd have some of these blowouts, but then you'd also have some nights where they would shut out the Colorado Avalanche or the Florida Panthers. And you're like, wow, why doesn't that type of effort show up on a more consistent basis? Not the result necessarily, but just that level of dogged puck pursuit and, the given F meter. And that is something that I think for the most part, honestly, since these trades have been made, there have been a lot of encouraging signs on that front. Again, on that last road trip, credit to them. They didn't fight, they didn't give up. They kept fighting. You just got to make sure that a performance like the one last night doesn't snowball, because even though the games may not matter standings wise, you're trying to reset the culture for next season.
Why were the Kraken trying last night? You're bang on. You're absolutely bang on. It doesn't mean you stop playing. It doesn't mean you stop playing, even though it appears that's what the Canucks did last night. I want to talk more about this home record, because you bring up a really good point that they haven't shown up for the home fans who are spending a lot of money to be there and watch this team play. They've had 36 home games this year. They have just 15 wins. 15 home ice wins puts them, there's nobody in the East with lower than 19.
I looked this up before. The only teams worse are San Jose and Chicago.
Yeah,
those are the only teams with fewer home ice wins than the Canucks.
Yeah, that's where we're at. That's the conversation that we're having right now. The only teams are those basement dwellers. And at least San Jose is having fun. But man, it is it's tough to watch.
I think
for the people
I think it really strikes me too, especially it accord with me, because I personally know people who go to one game a year and just save up the money, and then it's they just no show, right? Again, it's not about the loss. When I was a kid growing up, and I'd get to go to occasional games, I think the Canucks were probably around 500 in the games that I went to. They might have even lost more games than I won. But what I always appreciated was they'd at least score. They'd at least give you a reason to cheer. There were at least close games. The effort was there. And so it was a really enjoyable experience. It's just been a lot of the home ice performances have just been soul sucking, where there's just like nothing to cheer for, nothing going. I mean, even you look at a loss like the Utah one, right? A couple weeks ago, 3-1, right? So it's not a blowout, but just they couldn't create anything offensively.
No jam.
There's just no jam. It's that feeling just watching the team play that has been disappointing on a lot of nights at Rogers Arena this year.
Last night specifically, Harm, like what went wrong the most for the team? Other than Thatcher Demko, we've talked about that. Rick Tocchet talked about poise. If you don't have an answer, we can just get to this Rick Tocchet on poise clip.
Sure, yeah. Let's just jump to that.
Let's do that. Jacob, pull up Rick Tocchet giving his diagnosis of what went wrong last night. He's gonna say poise a lot, folks.
Story. We just that's where the poise is, you know. The guy's gonna be in front. You got to fake it, go around, and then shoot it. Like these are the poised plays. 76 shot attempts are. I mean, I like it, but you'd like to see more result oriented when you get some attempts.
Poise, and he said poise a lot more as that clip went on. But yeah, some poise. He wants to see more poise from his team.
Yeah, well, in the attacking end. And this is why their fantasy stats weren't actually that bad last night. They actually had quite a bit of time with possession of the puck in the offensive zone. But how many times were they, especially on the power play, first excessively passing on the perimeter, and then they finally let it rip on a shot, and it's just straight into a guy's body, or straight into somebody's shin pads. And I don't think they worked hard enough to alter and manufacture those shooting lanes. The two power plays in the first period were really disappointing, right?
That's where this game ended. Like that's where this game ended. As soon as I was watching that, and I was like, oh, there's your power play chances early on, and they just mustered nothing. I was like, that's it. There's no way they're gonna figure this out.
Also, even on the first attempt, Quinn had turned it over. Beniers, had he not whiffed on the 2-on-1 opportunity with an open net, would have already been 1-0 for the Kraken right there. On the second Canucks power play as well, Jared McCann had a grade A scoring chance. I thought Lekkerimäki, we've been clamoring for him to get more of a look there on the second power play opportunity. He sort of had a play where he got stuffed down low. The Canucks lost the ensuing battle. That wasn't great. That didn't set the tone the right way, those two early power plays. And again, on the first one especially, they just seemed hesitant to shoot. They were just playing catch on the perimeter. And then the big mistake, and you want to talk about poise, Jake DeBrusk carrying it up the ice towards the end of the first period, just giving it straight to Michael Eyssimont, who comes flying down and turns it into a partial breakaway that the Kraken score on and take a lead heading into the intermission.
I thought that was where all the energy was just gone. Like, and honestly, when I say that I think the Canucks first period was better, now that I say that in retrospect, I'm pretty sure that was just because they had power plays. And I was like, oh, the puck's in their end, in the Kraken end, a lot. Do we need to talk more about Thatcher Demko? It was a bad night for him, but you can't win when you don't score. So I did want to rattle off this one stat that I pulled from the Statsies over at Canucks Army. Thatcher Demko's expected goals was just under 2. I think it was like 1.87 or something like that. So this was one of his worst starts of the season. I think it was one high danger chance against that went in, and the other ones were 2 low dangers and 1 medium, and then of course an empty net goal. Not a good game from him. Quinn Hughes out of gas. Like, do you agree with me on that? Like, where are we on Quinn Hughes?
Yeah, they need to scale his minutes back.
He played 27 minutes last night. What are we doing? Come on.
Yeah. I will say, even though he's looked off, especially on sort of quarterbacking the power play at times, in terms of his puck management and making uncharacteristic turnovers, he still had flashes where he's been creating offensively and dynamic. It's not like, you can tell he's out of gas and needs more of a breather, but he's still sort of giving it his all, and he's still sort of making plays and driving chances. It's just that his defensive play has sort of slipped at times, and in terms of just like making more mistakes here and there. And secondly, he's not able to single-handedly take over games anymore.
That's a really good way to put it, actually. Really good way to put it. Okay, do you have anything else you want to say about this game? We're gonna have a really busy anyone else, so I'd like to get to Family Feud pretty soon.
Like that game was a stinker. Let's move on.
Just like you didn't want to preview it yesterday, you don't want to review it either. Let's get to Family Feud. Take it away, technical producer Jacob Lazar.
Welcome back to another edition of Canucks Conversation Family Feud. The guys are on an unbelievable winning streak. They're like the Abbotsford Canucks out here. They just can't lose. We'll see how it goes today. I don't know. I don't want to say this one's tougher, but there's a lot of the number one answers are lower point totals than we've had in recent weeks, which means you guys are going to need some number two answers in there as well. You're not going to get away with just getting all the number ones. All right. David Quadrelli, I will remind you again of the rules. And for anyone tuning in for the first time, we play every week. David goes first. He's going to have 25 seconds on the clock. If he can't think of a response, he will say pass, and we will come back to it at the end. Quads, are you ready to go?
Yes, sir.
Which current Canuck would you most want to sit next to on a long flight?
Tyler Myers.
Name a Canuck past or present who got suspended more than once.
Todd Bertuzzi.
Which NHL team has the worst primary logo?
Pass.
Which current Canuck will be the best coach after they retire?
Quinn Hughes.
Which team will draft first overall this year?
San Jose.
Which team has the worst primary logo? I'll give you 2 seconds. 1, 2.
LA.
Okay, well, I'll accept it.
That's a tough one. Gotta wave Harmon in. That was tough. Although I have a new answer, but I won't say it. That was a tough one. Yeah, Harmon, you can hear me? That was tough. That one was not easy. That one is gonna be a tough one.
All right, our winning streak's on the line here.
Yeah, and I honestly I'll I think it's gonna be tough for you too, but I also will say I don't think I did very well.
That's okay. You've been crushing it, so.
All right, well, you did get to 98 points, Quads.
Okay, all right.
You serious? How?
Yeah,
okay, it's okay. We can go over it after.
Your last two answers saved you there. The answers to the last two questions, not the one you passed. And came back for. That one was not good, but for questions 4 and 5 saved your round there.
Okay.
All right, Harmon, you're going to have 30 seconds on the clock. Your time will begin when I finish reading the first question. If you can't think of an answer, say pass. We'll come back to it at the end. If you give one of Quad's answers, you'll hear the buzzer, and I will ask you to try again. Harmon, are you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Which current Canuck would you most want to sit next to on a long flight?
Oh, man. Hughes.
Name a Canuck past or present who got suspended more than once.
More than once? Oh, Skip.
Which NHL team has the worst primary logo?
Bruins.
Which current Canuck will make the best coach after they retire?
P. Suter.
Which team will draft first overall this year?
Sharks.
Try again.
Blackhawks.
Which team has, Canuck past or present who got suspended more than once?
Aaron Rome.
Aaron Rome. We'll accept that. All right.
I don't know if he got suspended a second time.
Okay,
okay. That being said, I didn't give people a list of like every Canucks suspension ever. So as long as the listeners also thought, hey, I think this guy got suspended twice, you might be okay. So you guys ready to go through this? See if your winning streak stays alive?
Yeah, I don't think it's...
I think Matt Cook is the best answer.
Multiple
times.
All right. So which current Canuck would you want to sit next to on a long flight? You guys got the number 1 and the number 2 answers.
Nice.
So Quinn Hughes was number 1.
Nice.
Tyler Myers was number 2. I think it's for the extra leg room, right? Myers probably gets that emergency exit row. You get that extra space to spread out. Spattering of all the usual suspects. Garland up there, Höglander, Joshua, Pedersen, the usuals. Name a Canuck past or present who got suspended more than once. Quads, you said Todd Bertuzzi. That's the number 2 answer. Harm, you said Aaron Rome. No points for that one.
Yeah.
Matt
Sorry.
Cook was in the top 5. Number 1 answer was Rafi Torres.
Oh yeah. How did I forget?
Yeah,
And-
that's okay. That's
And then the
alright.
number 3 answer was Zach Cassian.
Mm.
So some good ones up there. Tyler Myers also received votes in that one.
Nice.
Obviously, he's been suspended a few times, mostly just because he's way bigger than everybody else. Which NHL team has the worst primary logo? You guys struggled on this one. Quads, you said the LA Kings. That was only 2 points for
It's
LA.
true, though. LA's logo sucks.
No, it's
Continue.
not. LA's
No,
new
LA's
logo is
sucks.
great.
So bad.
Arm, you
So
said
bad.
Boston.
Only so here's my thought process.
Yeah, that one I need. I
No.
an explanation.
The Bruins logo is actually really nice, but I was banking on Canucks fans hating the Bruins so much that they would have voted Boston. Because I'll be honest, I wouldn't have been able to think of like a bad logo that would have gotten a lot of votes off the top
Sure.
of my head.
So
I'm going to say
Boston-
Utah.
Boston-
Utah should be number
I was
1.
trying to game it.
So Boston tied with LA, only two points for Boston. And actually, Boston's getting going back. So remember last year they had the throwback logo for their.
Yeah.
They're going back to that now. Their jerseys just leaked. Maybe I'll bring it up in everyone else.
Is
They're
it
going-
another giant B?
Well, it's just it's the classic B with
Yeah.
the less
Oh,
outlines, and they're
another
going
B.
back to the Happy Gilmore jerseys from the
Yeah.
90s.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
It's an iconic logo, but I
Yeah.
was trying to game the system
Yep,
and
so-
figure that Canucks fans
so-
would hate the Bruins.
Quads, you were right here bringing it up. Utah Hockey Club,
Yeah.
worst primary logo. Obviously, it's a temporary thing, but yes, that's the worst logo. Carolina Hurricanes was number 2.
How many points would Utah have gotten us?
26 points for Utah.
Okay.
Anaheim, shockingly number 3, even going back to the Mighty Ducks look. Maybe some people didn't know that they've gone back to the Mighty Ducks logo, but that's a classic.
Ducks would have been the easy number 1 had they not gone
Not
back to the
switched.
Mighty Ducks. logo.
Absolutely. Washington also up there with their logo. Other votes include Columbus, Chicago, Edmonton. Almost every team caught a stray here for worst primary logo. New Jersey, Philly. Basically, about half the league got a vote there. So you guys are only at 126 points. You need 74 to go on these last 2 questions. Which current Canuck will make the best coach after they retire? Quads, you said Quinn Hughes. That's the number 1 answer. Harm, you got the number 3 answer with Pius Suter. Number 2 answer was Derek Forbert.
How many
Okay, I could
points?
see
How many
that. I could
points
see
Hughes
that.
and Suter get?
Hughes got 31. Suter got 11, which means you need 63 points on this last one, Harm. Who will draft first overall this year? You first said the Sharks. That was Quad's answer. That was the number 1 answer with only 32 points, which means you cannot get there. You said Chicago. That's the number 2 answer. You guys get to 160, and the winning streak finally comes to an end. I finally stumped you guys. I had a difficult survey, but you guys still performed pretty well, and I think it could have been a lot closer if you had hit Rafi Torres and Utah Hockey Club.
Yes. Yeah, that was a good
Yeah,
survey.
That was a
was
good survey.
That was just, you know what? And like, I liked our effort, Harm. I liked our effort in that one.
Hard fought.
Hard fought. Yeah, hard fought.
So yeah, well,
I thought you posted sorry, I didn't look, but I opened the survey, the new survey on my phone because I thought you posted something and I clicked those links. Anyways,
oh yeah, well, it said our next Family Feud.
I didn't read anything, but I'm in the chat, so I opened it and then it was.
You wouldn't remember anyways, even if you did. So, everyone, if you're watching live on YouTube, on Facebook, or listening to the audio pod, survey link is in the description. If you're on any other platform, just find our YouTube channel or find our podcast on wherever you get your podcast. Link will be there to vote in the next survey.
Can I give you 3 logos that I think are bad logos?
Sure, let's hear them.
Let's do it.
Minnesota.
Great logo.
No.
I don't know
No,
what you're
listen,
talking about.
listen. Minnesota. No,
no.
listen. I'll explain after. I'm gonna give you 3, and I'm gonna tell you the common denominator. Minnesota, Nashville, and the old Buffalo logo, the saber head. Bad
Oh,
logos.
Wait,
all
the
3 of
the
those.
goat head? You don't like the goat head?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
the
all
black,
3 of
okay,
those.
the goat head is great. The Buffa Slug yellow one was horrendous.
Yeah, the yellow one sucked.
But I think your common denominator is that they're animal heads facing to the side.
that do not look like animal heads until some like if you have to explain that a logo is like, oh, that's actually a bear, or oh, that's a predator, whatever that is,
A saber-toothed tiger.
Yeah, and then that's a saber.
I
or
don't,
goat,
I
whatever
don't,
the hell
I
you
don't
guys just said.
know. I don't know how you can look at the Nashville Predators logo and not know that it's some animal. It's got massive fangs.
Yeah.
And Minnesota's is
The
more
Min-
subtle, but it's supposed to be. It's got like the forest scape.
It's
in
also
there, too.
sick.
No.
I think
Yeah.
the Wild logo is so cool.
Okay,
Yeah.
the Wild is the coolest among that group, but I'm telling you, when I was a kid, like the Sabres old logo,
I didn't like the goat head logo, dude.
I didn't know it was a goat. I was looking at it and thought it was a side profile of like I don't know. Okay, look at the
That's
old Sabres logo.
understandable. That's
Pull it up.
understandable.
Pull it up for reference. I thought the left side was like the mouth and that was like the snout, but it's actually just like the back of the neck.
Quads, I will be 100% honest with you. I thought the exact same thing as a kid. But when you look at the logo overall, it's kind of too complicated to be a good logo, but it's still just damn cool looking. Here,
No.
I'll pull it up.
I mean, well, look at the Canucks skate logo. It's not like there's probably too much going on there. You can't exactly tell what it is. It looks more like flying spaghetti, but it's just iconic and it works.
That's fair. That one is a good example. My take was basically that like if you have to explain to me what a logo is and I can't pick it up within 10 seconds, that's a bad logo.
Yeah, that's a fair take. Now, I am gonna have to circle back here. I'll pull it up. The fact that you said that the Los Angeles Kings have the worst logo.
They do.
No, they don't.
Their logo is better now.
Sorry,
I'm sorry. That's so
yeah,
cool.
this is cool.
When did they change it to this?
This year.
Have you not been watching Kings games?
Yeah,
That's
they went
just an
back to the
alternate
90s.
logo.
No, it's not.
This is their new primary logo.
Oh, well, I didn't know that. I thought
Yeah,
it was
their
this
old one
crap.
sucked. The
I thought
shield.
it was that. Yeah, I thought it was that. When did they make this switch? How did I miss this?
In the offseason, they switched, and the Ducks switched back to the Mighty Ducks logo.
All right, well, the Kings don't have the worst logo, but I just thought that was like an old logo that they were wearing. I thought every Kings game I was watching was just like, oh, we're wearing our throwback jerseys tonight.
Nope. They just went back to the original, or not the original look, but their 90s look, modernized version of it, which I think was the right call for them.
It's a good look. Okay, let's get to anyone else. But before anyone else, I want to tell you about a sponsor of ours, and that would be Pacific Toyota Dealers, who want to tell you about the 100% electric Toyota BZ4X. An SUV packed with plenty of space, the BZ4X can handle any terrain and can take you from the city to the slopes. It's backed by the peace of mind that comes with knowing you're driving a Toyota, and if you're driving a BZ4X, you get access to HOV lanes even if you're driving alone. When you choose the BZ4X, you can get up to $6,500 in rebates and incentives, and now you can finance the 2025 BZ4X from 0.99% APR for 36 months. Visit shoptoyota.ca or your local Pacific Toyota dealer today. So if you missed that, it was a higher rate before, but now we've got a new one for you, 0.99% APR. BZ4X. Check it out. Visit your local Pacific Toyota dealer today. Now let's get to anyone else, which is brought to you by our friends over at Greta. And of course, the watch party is coming up. Now. You may have heard at the start of the show us saying things like, oh, the season's over, games don't matter. We're still going to have a great time. And here's the thing. We know we're going to have a great time because we know that the team that you're there to watch isn't doing what you want to see, right? But everybody wants to watch the Canucks, right? So we're going to be there. We're going to watch the Canucks, but there's going to be a lot of stuff in between. We make sure it's a good time. We're going to do trivia with a bunch of giveaways. I can't say much more right now, but we have a lot of stuff, and we're going to make sure it's a good time for you, no matter what happens on the ice. It's going to be a really good time. We've got the arcade. I'll play anyone in basketball. And yeah, we're going to have a really, really good time. It's presented by Fountain Tire, and it's in support of Kids Sport. Come check us out. Game day at Greta, April 10th, 6 p.m. start, Vancouver versus Colorado. Must be 19 plus. Get your tickets at nationgear.ca. And I promise it is going to be a fun time. Perform in the way that you would like. It's always a good time at Greta. So come on down, join us. All right. Jeff is going to be on tomorrow. So this is actually my last show of the week, but I'll be back on Monday to break down a couple things. The weekend slate of games. We'll see how much we talk about those on Monday, but I'll be back on Monday. Jeff's going to be joining you tomorrow, Harm. But I have a few things that I wanted to get to today. It's actually a pretty busy anyone else. first things first, I wanted to get to this. And we're going to do who should win each Canucks team award. We'll do that as its own little thing in anyone else. But I wanted to get to this one. The top 50 UFAs, courtesy of Daily Faceoff. Daily Faceoff put this out today. This is the list that they came up with. And I think it might have come as a surprise to some people to see Brock Besser at number 2. And if we can pull this up, Jacob, that'd be great. The top 50 UFAs over at dailyfaceoff.com. That list is out now. You can go check it out. I got to pull it up. Hang on.
I'll have it up here in a second.
All good. So Brock Besser's at number 2 on this list, Harmon. They use the AFP analytics projection as well, and right now AFP analytics is projecting 7 years at 9.1 million, which is obviously a bit high for Brock Besser, who's got 46 points this season. But this list, I think, does kind of put into perspective that, you know, a guy like Sam Bennett that we were talking about, like, he's projected to get less than Brock Besser. And we're talking about a guy in Nikolai Ehlers, again, on this list, projected to get less than Brock Besser. And again, that might not happen, especially with Ehlers. I would think it's going to be more for Ehlers, but it does kind of illustrate this broader idea that, like, Brock Besser is among the top of the pending UFAs.
Yeah, and that the UFA class doesn't have a lot of true top of the lineup impact players. First of all, I think 9.1 times 7. I'd be surprised if anybody goes that high.
That's way too high.
That's way too high. That'd be a mistake of a contract, and aged very poorly. I also think the projection for Ehlers is too low, 7.5 times 6. Yeah, I mean, I feel like a lot of teams would sign up for that contract in a heartbeat. I also wouldn't be surprised if somebody overpays for Sam Bennett because of the intangibles. Like, I don't think the projection is that wrong, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's closer to 7 times 7 for Sam Bennett, just because of the physicality, the playoff track record, etc. But yeah, I mean, this UFA market isn't great, and that's kind of been my concern. Is this team needs to add a lot of needle movers up front in their top 6. There are some options here, but given how many teams are going to have cap flexibility and be in on names like Ehlers, Marner, if he ends up hitting the open market, Bennett, if you strike out on plan A, are there a lot of attractive plan B options for a team like the Canucks?
The answer is no. Like, we're looking at this list. We're looking at the same list here. And for those on the podcast, I'll rattle off some names for you. Brad Marchand, probably an intriguing name, but not so much in Vancouver. And the other thing to keep in mind with all these names that I'm saying is that these players need to agree to come to Vancouver. Brock Nelson is on the list. Is he going to want to come to Vancouver? He's also 33 years old. Claude Giroux, Jamie Benn, Mikael Granlund, like Jonathan Drouin, Yanni Gourde, Ryan Donato. Big shout out to Ryan Donato. But seriously, like, it is pretty thin at forward, and you see why Brock Besser's so high on this list.
While Harm fixes his mic, I just want to say, Quads, I have a note here, like in my permanent notes, of a quote of yours saying that Ryan Donato will get $4 million a year in free agency.
I absolutely stand by it.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Just making sure we still have that.
He will. It's all you're saying, Jacob, is you're reminding me that I had a great take that's going to happen. But what else is new?
Yeah, I made fun of you for that, but I wouldn't be surprised if Chicago overpays to keep him.
Or on the open market. Like, I think you can get that on the open market.
I don't know how confident I'd feel about it, but about him being able to replicate like this season's success in a new environment. Because it's not like he's 25 years old and it's just like, oh, he's finally breaking out. He's in his late 20s. If he hadn't figured it out to this point and he's getting opportunities in Chicago that he likely wouldn't elsewhere, I don't know how confident I'd be that this is a consistent 25 to 30 goal guy.
Yeah, but sometimes, Harm, what's the saying? Actually, I don't think that's an appropriate saying. But you know where I'm going with this. At some point, you're gonna look at what's available and say, This guy did score 29. He might finish with 30 goals this year. Ryan Donato might score 30 goals this year. Like, at some point, there's going to be a team, and sure, both of us are hoping it's not going to be the Canucks, that look at Ryan Donato and say, you know what? Like, he's the best option available, and we need to improve our team.
Yeah. Sad state for the UFA market.
Not great. But I did at least want to mention that Besser coming in at number 2 on that list. Okay. Alex Ovechkin scored again. He's just 3 goals away from breaking the record, 2 goals away from tying it. I noticed this too. Wayne Gretzky is supposed to be following Ovechkin around. Did you catch this? He's supposed to be following him around. And I think all of the travel plans were for like next week and later. Wayne Gretzky better be at the next game Alex Ovechkin plays, because we're getting into dangerous territory when he's 3 goals away from breaking and Wayne Gretzky's not there. Like, Wayne's got to hit the road right now. I know they thought they might have a little more time, but now with Ovechkin scoring in his last 2 games, it might happen any game now. Seriously.
They're playing Chicago next game too.
Exactly.
So
it could be a hat trick. It could be a hat trick. You've got to get Wayne out there. If that's something you want to do and you want to execute on, is having Wayne Gretzky there to pass the torch to Alex Ovechkin. You need to make sure that you've got Wayne on the road to Washington, because the Caps play tomorrow against Chicago. So we'll see. Wouldn't it be funny if he broke it on it's a 9:30 a.m. Pacific start on Sunday between the Capitals and the Islanders? Wouldn't it be funny if, like, you wake up at 10, if you sleep in on the weekends, you wake up and the goal record's broken?
Yeah, that'd be pretty hilarious.
Yeah, not great. But yeah, we're following it. The chase for Alex Ovechkin. If he does it against Chicago, he'll have broken the record in 1 game less than it took Wayne Gretzky to hit that goal total, which is crazy to think about. Okay. This one was from Levi Green, and it's about the UFA list. He said, so glad the Canucks don't have to hunt for a top 4 D-man like they do every other offseason. All things considered, Harm, and I know they robbed Peter to pay Paul by trading centers to get defense help. Like, the Canucks aren't going to be looking for a defenseman this offseason, you wouldn't think.
Yeah, it's nice, but a top 6 center, that's equally, if not more, challenging to find.
Ryan Donato's right there.
As what?
Top 6 center.
He's a winger.
He's mostly a winger.
Yeah, but he can take faceoffs. I've seen him do it. I'm joking. Okay, I do want to ask you about this though. Like, the hard part of this equation is they have to want to come to Vancouver. But are you at all thinking about these older
Dear Sydney
UFAs?
letter? You're thinking
No. Fire up the word. No, not Dear Sydney. In all seriousness, like, do you at least find yourself thinking about like a John Tavares, Matt Duchene, Brock Nelson? Obviously, we've talked a lot about Sam Bennett, but he's not older. These 32 plus UFAs that play center and can be top 6 centers. Do you look at any of those guys as an interesting option for the Canucks?
You'd have to consider it because your options are kind of slim otherwise. The problem is, I don't think John Tavares would come here unless you overpay.
Mm-hmm.
He seems like he's pretty happy and settled playing for his hometown team. I'd expect the Leafs to want to keep him. I don't expect him to go to market. And same thing with Matt Duchene. He could have cashed in last summer as a free agent. He took such a sweet discount to stay there. I think he really loves playing in Dallas, which is a quieter market, no state tax, good weather, contending team. Like, I don't think Matt Duchene would be chomping at the bit at the idea of playing in a big Canadian market on a team that's been clouded by drama and negative storylines for all of the season. Brock Nelson, he's 33 years old. I don't love what it's gonna take as far as his next contract. Excuse me. Plus, he's from Minnesota, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Wild take a serious run at signing him. So, I mean, long story short, yeah, you're gonna have to think about it because they're second line centers, and it's not as if the Canucks have a ton of second line center options available. but I don't really look at any of them as ideal or perfect fits, or most importantly, I don't even know if they'd want to come here.
That's the hard part of this equation. That's why I asked the question. Is everybody's throwing out these names? It's like they have to want to come here. And you, again, especially those first two you mentioned, the idea of them coming here seems like a long shot. Mikael Granlund is kind of that second tier. He was absolutely cooked. He goes to San Jose and starts to play well. He gets traded to Dallas. He's also playing pretty well in Dallas, but I don't want them to sign Mikael Granlund. I think someone is going to overpay for Mikael Granlund, and they're going to regret it. And I mean, we've already had a Granlund in Vancouver as well. Don't sign Mikael Granlund.
Yeah, and he's 5'10", right? And normally I'm not the guy that really cares about guys' height, but
speaking my language,
when you look at the type of center the Canucks need, you've got a center group right now that is pretty undersized and non-physical. When you look at Pettersson, who isn't small but doesn't really play a physical hard game. You've got Hedel, who combined Phillip and Hedel.
I know.
You've got Hedel, who has his concussion issues and is kind of vulnerable in that way. He also doesn't really play a physical game. And then if you keep Pia Suter, fantastic player, but is also 5'11". So I don't know if you can add a 5'10" center to that group.
Can they get Bo Horvat back? We've talked about this, but I'm thinking about it again, man.
I don't think the Isles are rebuilding. We've had this conversation before.
We have. Okay. To this idea that the Canucks traded the wrong guy. I think they really traded the wrong guy back when they decided on Miller over Horvat.
Well, they probably should have traded both, and honestly just tried to do a quick retool probably.
Think of, everything you would have got back then too.
Yeah. Now, of course, that means you wouldn't have had last year, but you probably would have been better positioned to actually contend for the Stanley Cup in these final next 2 years of Quinn's upcoming contract.
It's bleak right now. It's bleak.
But Bo's contract isn't going to age very well either, right?
No, it's not.
$8.5 million for several years still to come.
Six more years, including next year. It takes him to age 36. Can you tell that I was on Bo Horvat's Puckpedia page today? This is a good take from Neverending Story in the chat. He said, actually, sign nobody. Canucks need to hit rock bottom for a few years. There's a take.
Can't do that while Quinn's here.
Nathan Lee, which free agent would be your number one target then? I've said it for a while. Sam Bennett. Go get me Sam Bennett. Don't care if you overpay. Go overpay for him rather than Ryan Donato or Mikael Granlund.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if they look at Bennett as the type of center with his abrasive playing style that would replace some of the qualities that hard-nosed qualities that they lost after trading JT as well. There's risk though, right? Because it's not like he's a guy who in the regular season puts up 60 to 70 points. Still a good second line center and would be a huge upgrade on this team. You'd kind of have to bite the bullet in terms of the contract you sign him to and just accept that this is going to be an overpayment and it's probably not going to age well.
Yeah.
But that's kind of where they're at. Like, to be honest,
that's the thing. You don't have much option. Like, you can't.
I feel like whatever the Canucks do, either in terms of now, maybe they've got some trick up their sleeve, some target that we don't know about on the trade market.
Mm-hmm. You hope.
You hope. But if not, then either when it comes to the trade market, you're probably acquiring a guy that either you're not overly excited about, or you probably have to overpay assets wise, or if it's free agency, it's a contract that you have to overpay. Like, there is no perfect solution likely available to this team, and that's one area where they're probably just gonna have to some extent bite the bullet to at least get some type of upgrade.
And if you're going to overpay, which it looks like they are, I'd just like to see it be Sam Bennett rather than Donato or Grenland. Did you have anything else that you wanted to get to?
No, don't think so.
Okay.
Oh wait, we were gonna do the on the.
Oh yeah,
draft lottery simulator.
Oh yeah, that and the other thing too. Okay, let's do draft lottery simulator first.
All right. So what I'm gonna do here is I'll sim the lottery and then I'll scroll down before we actually see. We'll kind of just go up team by team and find out who wins this. All right. So we're simming the lottery. Here's all our playoff teams. So drafting 16th is Calgary. That pick goes to Montreal. That was in what trade was that in? Was that in the I don't even remember what trade it was. Actually, that might have been the Monahan trade, like the pick that Calgary gave Montreal to take Sean Monahan a couple years ago. Anyways, the next up is Vancouver Canucks at 15th. They don't move. Utah, Columbus, the Rangers, Detroit, the Islanders, so no movement yet. Anaheim, Pittsburgh, Buffalo, Philly, Nashville drops a couple. Chicago drops a couple. San Jose drops a couple. So
oh no,
2 teams moving up. The Boston Bruins and Seattle Kraken.
Dude, this is like the worst outcome.
So your Seattle Kraken get to scoop up their choice of Michael Misa or Braden Schaefer, and Boston will take whoever's left.
And Boston, after one bad year, gets the leftover of Schaefer or Misa. Get out of here. Terrible.
You know what's crazy, Harm? In this, Boston only moved up 2 spots. That's how bad Boston is and how much they're tanking right now.
And honestly, getting to number 2 is massive because, again, Schaefer versus Misa, you're lucky if you get either one of those guys.
Mm-hmm.
And like Misa's having an unbelievable year in the OHL, best player in that league. And Schaefer, even though he's missed a lot of time with injury, sort of projects as like a do-it-all number 1 defenseman. So yeah, there's no Bedard or Celebrini here, but those top 2 guys are still really, really enticing prospects. Whereas when you get to, let's say, like outside of the top 5 particularly, there's a pretty substantial drop-off. And, there's a drop-off there. There's a drop-off after number 2. So yeah, whoever gets 1 and 2 has a pretty big leg up on the teams drafting from like 4 to 7.
This one from S Little Boston. Where is Anton Lundell in his contract cycle? Is he an RFA next year?
I believe he's signed an extension, if I'm not mistaken.
Great. There goes another target.
I'll double check the terms of that. But they also weren't gonna Lundell is their succession plan if Bennett leaves in free agency.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, $5 million times 6 years.
Well, there goes that idea.
And actually, this was the first year of that contract, so it's been a while since
He'll be a UFA at age 28 in 2030. So, not really any.
Write that down.
Yeah, not really worth looking at least for another few years.
Write that down. Okay. Last thing I wanted to get to today, the Canucks announced that the team awards are going to be going out. I wanted to pick the 4 fan-voted team awards. I wanted to give our picks for each. Of course, that is MVP, best defenseman, unsung hero, and most exciting player. Harm, I've got Quinn Hughes as the MVP, and I'm sure you have him as that as well. I've got Quinn Hughes as the best defenseman, and I'm sure you have him as that as well. I've got Derek Forbert as the unsung hero, and Kiefer Sherwood as my most exciting player. You don't break the NHL hits record and not pick up most exciting player. This guy scored goals for the team. He's been a huge bright spot in a season that hasn't had very many. So I'm going with Kiefer Sherwood as my unsung hero. Or no, what did I pick him as? Most exciting player.
Most exciting?
Yeah, most exciting.
Bad take.
Player.
I went with Nils Amon as my most exciting player, just how fast he is. The wheels
Amon.
There was that one game a few weeks ago where just sleepy contest, and in the third period, he jolted me awake when he threw a pretty substantial hit there. But no, in all seriousness, that is still a bad take. Like, what? I love me some Kiefer Sherwood. Dude, he is not more exciting than Quinn Hughes. Are you kidding me?
You can't give every award to Quinn
Yeah, you
Hughes.
can.
No, you can't.
Yeah, you can.
No, you can't. That is so boring.
You're telling me Kiefer Sherwood is more exciting than Quinn Hughes?
No, okay. I'm telling you, Quinn Hughes has won every award, and he should win every award every year.
Why not? If he deserves it, give it to him.
Quinn should also probably win unsung hero. Like, you could make a case for it. So I don't want to.
No, he doesn't deserve unsung.
Okay, listen.
These broadcasts, a lot of these national broadcasts feel like more coverage of Quinn Hughes than the Vancouver Canucks as a whole. He's not unsung, but he deserves everything else.
Where's the team awards? Hold on. Has anyone ever won all three? I don't think anyone's ever won all three.
Great, he should be the first then. Like, the gap between him and everybody else on this team is enormous.
I guess Quinn is the most exciting player, but I don't know.
Like, this isn't
Okay, Pavel. Okay, hang on. I'm checking. Most exciting player has been won by Pavel Bure a lot. Quinn Hughes has never won most exciting player. Also, do you remember this? JT Miller was named MVP by the fans last year. The only award Hughes won last year was best defenseman. Did you remember that? Yeah.
Yeah, that was
a year he won the Norris as the best defenseman in the league. The fan voting has JT Miller as the team's MVP. And JT Miller also won most exciting player last year. So it's worth mentioning that Miller took home more awards than Hughes did, which is probably why everybody was so upset when he got traded. Okay.
We should also say that the 2022-23 most exciting player was Andrei Kuzmenko.
Mm-hmm.
Just figured I had to throw that in there. And Höglander won it in 21.
So maybe this is a cursed award.
Nobody's ever won. Yeah, nobody's ever won 3 of 4, I don't think.
And just like looking back at some of the other winners, like there was a stretch where after 2011, Kessler wins most exciting player, and then your next winners in order go David Booth, Yannick Hansen, Zach Cassian, Radim Verbata. This is why team awards are just silly. Like, who cares who wins it? It literally means nothing.
Kiefer Sherwood cares. Yeah, there we go. There's Ricochet in the chat said Sherwood's physical game is way more exciting than Hughes.
Wow.
He broke the hits record.
Who cares? Quinn's the only thing that's made this team watchable this season.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, you can make a case for it for sure. But
okay,
also,
if you had to watch the Canucks for 82 games, okay?
Yeah.
And it's this roster, and you only get to have one of Hughes or Sherwood on there for entertainment purposes. Entertainment. Who do you want?
Okay, that's not what the award is.
Excitement, entertainment, it's the same thing.
No, it's not the same thing.
I'm not saying for winning games. I'm saying for like purely you're trying to watch these games. You got a boring roster. You need somebody to spice these games up and make this team more exciting to watch. Is it going to be Quinn or is it going to be Sherwood?
Okay, yeah, sure. It's going to be Quinn, but also...
That's stop it right there. That's it.
But what makes a hockey game exciting? Winning and scoring goals. So obviously Quinn, the MVP and best defenseman, is going to fit your criteria. But Sherwood's an exciting player.
I agree. He's probably the second most exciting player on this team. But it's second behind Quinn.
We'll see. We'll see how...
The guy breaks ankles. How many players break ankles? Every game.
Break ribs. Kiefer Sherwood. There you go. It's exciting. Exciting players get their names chanted at Rogers Arena. No one's ever chanted Quinn Hughes. That's from LC250 in the chat. Great comment. That's so funny. And yeah, the big hits get the fans in the game when they're losing. And it's true.
You know what, Harm? Yeah. I agree with you. The most exciting player absolutely is Quinn Hughes, but I don't know. I feel like after a season like this, just give Kiefer Sherwood the award for throwing hits because it's just been such a disaster. But I agree with you. There's nobody even remotely close to the excitement that is brought by Quinn Hughes. It's
okay. I also think we need to go back and realize that Yannick Hansen has took home this award, as you pointed out. That 2012-13 team, of course, there were more exciting players than Yannick Hansen, but he still got it. He still got
great.
it.
Like then why then the award means nothing. It's name it like the second most exciting player on the team. Like,
we'll see. Who do you think could be the person that snubs Hughes of MVP this year? I don't even think there's not even a close.
Well, I was going to ask you, like, in all seriousness, if you couldn't vote Quinn MVP, who's been the second most valuable player on this team?
Kevin Lankinen.
No, I don't think so anymore. Not after the most recent stretch.
Like he
Who's
was up
number
until the Four Nations, but I agree with Harm. He not anymore.
So keeping them in the fight when they were missing their players and their star goaltender, yeah, it's Kevin. Okay, like in all seriousness, he is the most valuable player. He was the most valuable player to this team outside of Quinn Hughes. Absolutely, he was.
Up until Four Nations,
But
dude, he has an 89 save percentage this year.
Yeah. Okay. Who are you giving me? Just tell me your name.
Well, that's the thing. The other option.
Hronek, maybe. Honestly,
what?
like
Hronek's been dog water.
Garland.
Oh, okay. Garland's a good one because Garland was really good, especially.
It might even be Petey. Like as outrageous as that sounds.
Pedersen more valuable than Lankinen this year.
Tyler Myers getting some love in the chat. Like, but the fact that like it's all these names and you hear these names and you're like, okay, maybe. That just goes to show how valuable Quinn Hughes actually was.
If they didn't have Kevin Lankinen, like even Quinn Hughes wouldn't really matter in this conversation because they would have had Artur Shilovs and Yuri Patera as their tandem.
I guess because you're going valuable relative to best. Okay, fair. If you're going valuable because your alternatives, like it just beats Artur Shilovs, sure, fine. But if we're talking second best player on the team this season, then it's probably Garland.
There's more you can have conversations at least, but most valuable. Come on.
Okay, fair. It's I was thinking more like who's second best rather than valuable, but yeah,
sure.
Yeah, fair enough.
All right. Okay. Do you have anything else you want to get to?
No.
Okay. Let's get to our Bet365 bet of the day. We're going to the NHL slate today. I'm done with baseball for the time being. NHL slate tonight. We've got the San Jose Sharks taking on the Edmonton Oilers. The Oilers are riding high. The Sharks are heavy underdogs tonight. You can get the Sharks money line at plus 240 odds. And I'm taking it. Believe it or not, I'm taking it. That was our bet of the day. Brought to you by Bet365, where every nail-biting overtime win is a barn burner. Every face-off, hat-trick, power play, shot on goal, penalty shot, and every suspenseful minute in between is amazing. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary. Bet365, an official partner of the NHL. Download the Bet365 app and use the code NATION to get in on the game. Must be 19 plus to play. If you choose to play, please play responsibly. All right. We'll wrap it up there. I won't be here tomorrow, so Harmon, you're going to hold down the fort with Jeff Patterson coming in to co-host, and Jacob will be there too. But I'll sign off and I'll see everybody on Monday, but you'll be back tomorrow and it's going to be a good time. For my co-host Harmon Dial and our technical producer Jacob Lazar, my name is Dave Quadrelli. Thanks so much for the episode of Canucks Conversation.
Canucks Conversation is live Monday through Friday, every weekday at 2 p.m. over on the Canucks Army YouTube channel. Make sure you like, subscribe, and interact in the YouTube live chat every day with us, folks.